Welcome to episode 3 of Academic Misfits, and I'm your host, Luna Munoz. I don't think I've ever introduced myself. I was formerly Luna Sentifanti for a while I was in academia. Got my PhD under Luna Munoz, but silly me, changed my name when I got married because everyone in my university said that it's so easy to use one name at home and one name at work, and that I would be able to keep all my publications, everything in under Munoz, but at home I could be a different name and that I could change it legally still. So that my child, when they're at school and, going on flights with me, because of course I'm international, would have no trouble. So I feel like this is a good point to open this podcast because the things that we're told are normal are abnormal for academics. Moving across the world, having babies in different countries, traveling, taking partners who maybe don't have citizenship rights, and all the things that go with that. But it turns out people who are British can do that, can use one name at work and one name at home. People who are non-British, who are on a visa, no, you can't do that. That's fraud. You're trying to pull one over on the system. They don't understand academics. So that was really difficult for me. So yes, I'm Luna Munoz now. I had it changed back when I got a divorce. So yes, my publications are messy. They're all under very different names. Luna Clara Munoz, Luna C. Munoz, Luna C. Sentifanti. But yeah, I'm your host. I also run Luna Leadership, where I do career coaching for academics, reimagining what's next after considering what's going on in academia. So I created Academic Misfits as a place to house us people who never felt like academics. And today's guest talks about that. We didn't really feel like academics, or we weren't made to feel like we were, real academics for whatever reason, whether the metrics were measuring something that didn't capture what we contribute. It's those of us who are we're a square peg trying to get into a round hole. And it's very difficult for us to live in that world. So I wanted us to have a place here where we celebrate our successes, regardless of what academia has told us success is. So welcome. Episode 3 is with Sonia Tucci. Dr. Sonia Tucci. Apparently, she has 2 doctorates. She told me after the episode that she has a medical doctorate and a PhD. So she's Dr. Sonia, who is living her life like she wants to outside of academia. So she tells you all about that. We also talk about being a business owner and the difficulties with rejection and learning how to, deal with the fact that academia never let us be okay earning money for ourselves. And now we're doing that and reimagining what that looks like. So I hope you enjoy it. I first wanted to get started with something that she showed me and part of the audio that was recorded afterwards. So forgive me, part of it is on my phone, and hopefully you can hear it all right, even though it was on my phone. But it was after we were finished. We were in person, so a very different podcast than the last one. I'm going to start with one of the things that she talked about, which was the impetus for just going, I'm done with academia and I'm going to apply or register my limited company idea while I'm in the staff meeting, because it's that insufferable that I can't wait one more minute to begin my new company. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, go to academicmisfits.co.uk and you can find out more about the podcast and the process for getting on it there. And thank you for supporting. If you can please rate, subscribe, whatever you do on these podcasts. And if there's anything that you'd like to see on the podcast, do let me know. But we'll go ahead and get started. So we start with Sonia showing me the slide that instigated and inspired her to start her business. This slide was shown at a student engagement workshop or seminar, a staff meeting, where they brought everybody together for the expert to share how to engage students. And you can see this slide. Well, you can't see this slide if you're listening on the podcast, but it has Venn diagram after Venn diagram with other circles on the side. So there's 5 circles in the middle, all overlapping. And then there's circles on the side that are kind of off the chart. And then there's text written in each circle. There must be about 5 pieces of text. So 5 times 5, there's like 25 different pieces of text, plus little text boxes in gray, and then circles, like I said, on the side in blue. And it is just insane. So you'll listen to how she was talking about what this slide did to her. One thing to mention is that we did not record the video. So sorry, guys, it's just the audio only. Those on the podcast, you won't even notice. So you started the business while you were in that meeting, while she was showing the slide?
Yes. I was really bored. I was painfully boring, and yeah.
And you do it on the council website or something like that?
I went on the council website and registered. It's very easy, straightforward. Again, thank you, country, for being non-bureaucratic country, because you can't really go on the website of the council, register the business. You have to give a name, a date, and that's it, really. It's super, super easy.
And how did you decide on that's when you said chocolatinos?
I said chocolatino, but I said it I put it in Italian. Chocolatini. And then my son said that no one's going to be able to read that properly. Put chocolatinos. So that's my son's name, really. And actually, I think he's still registered with the Italian name. Because they come every 3 years to do the hygiene inspection. And he still had the name. But so I said to her, can you change the name? I don't know if she did. But yeah, that's the story.
So because of the bureaucracy of this shit, you decided to do some non-bureaucratic stuff and get your business registered.
Yeah.
So you could go to the fair.
Yeah, I don't
sell.
know. I must have been thinking about selling chocolates at some point, because I don't remember. Because I thought, well, if you make chocolates, you have to sell them. It's not like cakes.
Yeah.
Because you can't really sell chocolates to friends, because you have to make a lot.
Yeah.
So I must have thought at some point I have to sell the chocolates, and I've been to, fairs, like craft fairs. So I thought, well, I want to sell chocolates in a fair. I'd love to do that, because you talk to people and have a stall. No idea at all how to do that. But then I started with the Facebook page of the woman, the lady that did the fair.
Yeah.
And she told me what I needed. But if you go to a fair and see all the stallholders, you say, well, if they can do it, I can do it. It's like everyone can do that.
So welcome, Sonia, to the Academic Misfits podcast. So good to have us both here. We're both in person today. So I wanted to introduce you, Sonia Tucci, and explain who you are, how you got into academia, your kind of backstory would be great.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me. I'd love to do this podcast for you. Well, my name is Sonia. I am from Venezuela, and I did a medical degree in Venezuela. When I finished my degree in Venezuela, it was a much better way of living to become an academic than being a medic. Because in universities in Venezuela at the time, if you got a job there, you would work for 25 years and then you retire on a full salary, which I thought it was normal, but it's not. It's not what happens in the rest of the world. So I was 24 when I finished. So I went to work in the university in Venezuela in the human physiology department. Started working at 25. I would have been retired with a salary of about $3,000 at the age of 50. So it was a no-brainer. That was the ideal world. But in the year 2000, I was offered to do a PhD in London.
Oh, wow, cool.
For a guy that did a PhD in London. He worked with me. And he said his supervisor needed somebody. So I said, well, I'll go. And that was together with the political situation there that was already changing. So it wasn't $3,000 anymore. It was going to be a lot less anyway.
Right.
So my children were young, and I thought, why not? I'll go for 3 years. They will learn English, and I'll see. But deep down, very, very, in the back of my mind, I thought, if this the same political situation, I'm not coming back. And that happened, and I was very, very lucky that after finishing my PhD in London, I got an offer to do a postdoc in Reading.
Oh, wow.
With Tim Kirkham.
Okay.
So I became his postdoc for 10 months.
Yeah.
And then he was offered a chair in Liverpool. And I had to follow because visa, work permit. So I came to Liverpool, but there were 3 positions for lectureship when I came. So I applied and got them. And I was incredibly happy, grateful to get them because it was the only way I could stay in this country.
Wow.
Otherwise, you have to go.
Your PhD was in psychology.
Psychopharmacology.
Oh, psychopharmacology. Okay.
Yeah. And then got a place in psychology, which I'm not a psychologist, but I could teach biological psychology, which was, not different from, actually simpler than when I used to teach to medical students.
Yeah.
So it was a lot less deep, basically, what you teach to psychology students. So I started working in Liverpool and worked at university for 20 years.
Wow.
20 years, yeah.
And your kids have only known, England.
Yeah, well, they came here when they were 3 and 6.
Right.
So they're basically English. In the sense that they've never lived,
They're not
consciously
remember.
anywhere else. Yeah.
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 Wow.
Yeah.
So I didn't know all that about your background. I don't think we've talked about it before, even though we're friends.
Yeah.
The psychopharmacology. So, I think a lot of people nowadays, when they're thinking, I might want to do something other than academia with psychopharmacology or with medical degree or anything like that, a lot of people think, well, an alternative reality of academia could be working in industry, working for the pharmaceutical companies or things like that. But when you started questioning, do I want to keep being in academia? Yeah, tell us a bit about how you started questioning the reality of what academia was after, 15 or however many years that you'd been in it, because things have been changing since probably when I got here, which was 2007.
Yeah, things have changed. I love teaching. I love making lectures, preparing lectures, giving lectures. That's no problem. I can do it again. I don't think, things changed, obviously. And I think they changed drastically after COVID. Because after COVID, of course, we could stay at home. And I have other hobbies. So staying at home allowed me to basically do the other hobbies. And that I started fantasizing about the life of a retired person. So it's not really academia. Academia didn't do anything bad to me. It's just that you start thinking, I can afford not to do this and do things that I like better.
Yeah.
That's more or less what happened. And I think that happened, I don't know if it's academia's fault, I think it's the system, is that when I started, I think the students really wanted to learn more, but the other thing that what changed was, I think, from the moment students started paying more, they demanded more. Yeah. And uni had to basically make them happy, I think. So I think I lost the purpose. I didn't teach. You just basically, what you're doing is telling them how to pass an exam. And then you lose the motivation to teach, because you can feel that lots of them just don't go there to learn, but to get a degree.
Yeah, it's a transaction.
And I have to say, honestly, was nothing of that was a major thing. The major thing was that I like my other hobbies better. And I've always valued my time more than money and anything else, because you can't buy time. You can't get money elsewhere, but you can go, when you're 60 and say, now I want to buy 10 years of health and life when you're a 30-year-old person. That's probably why.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember I was talking to you and you said, yeah, I've started looking at other things to supplement my hobbies and, looking at whether I can supplement the money, because obviously our pensions aren't what they were back when we started in academia, and our pensions have taken a cut across different governments. And so I remember talking to you, maybe 5 years ago or more about what you were planning. And what had you started doing? Actually, how many years ago was it that you went into kind of cake decoration? Yeah.
Cake decoration I started, I think, about in 2011, I think it was. And I remember why it was. The trigger was that they changed something in university. And I think that you had to bring some grant money. It was before you had the scholarship pass. So they said, I remember reading an email saying like you had to have a lot of grant money.
Oh, because of the teaching and scholarship path, which was more teaching oriented.
But that didn't exist.
But then the teaching and research was like, you have to have this many publications and this many grants. Yeah, okay.
But when they wanted money from grants, which I think is fine. I mean, university is the manager and they want you to take money from grants. That's no problem. But I thought I will never be able to get that amount of money. And basically, they kind of implied, if you don't do that, we'll sack you. Well, they didn't say it, but maybe I just thought it.
It ended up being true for me. But
Well, exactly. And I thought, well, I had the mortgage, the kids were young. So instead of me saying I'm going to write grants, I said I need a plan B. I do a cake decoration course. So I did cake decoration course in the evening.
How did that come across your
Because my daughter, I think it's just a book my daughter brought home with like from school, and they had it was a cake decoration because they do home economics. So she said, "Oh, Mom, look at that! I want to do that." I'm like, "Oh, I like that," and I said, "Well, we can do it together," but she couldn't do it because it was for adults.
Right.
So it's adult education. Yeah. So I said, well, I'll do it and then I'll teach you what I've learned. But actually, I liked it way more than she went into she's a chef, but that's how it started. So I started doing the course, and obviously, as soon as you start doing the course, you start making cakes for friends and birthdays and like that. And I carried on doing that till Chocolatinos is only 2019.
Oh wow!
So for 8 years, I just made cakes for friends and presents, and they got paid as well, but it wasn't as much as I do now. Well, because and of course you start thinking, well, I like these a lot, but I could do both, no problem, because I didn't do many cakes. So
what did you like about it? What were the aspects of it that really drew you?
It's very creative. It's like you're in flow. You're really into it. So when I'm doing a cake or decorating, time just goes. You just disembody it, just 100% there. Every cake is different. You need a lot of skills. You can learn huge amount of skills, and it's very different. It's completely different. That's what I love about it.
That creativity part is something that a lot of times we don't get in academia, I find.
No, because academia is more obviously you get paid a lot more for that. And I still say, I mean, the work in academia is I have to say, is the best job.
Yeah.
Because for the stress we get and the money we get, there's no other job, I think. Because if we make a mistake, it's like a mark, a wrong mark, or you say, oh, I'm sorry, and no one's going to die. There's no implications, isn't it? Whether if you're an air traffic controller or a policeman or a nurse or a medic, anyone really, a bus driver, and we get paid good money for that. I can't complain really, but it's just there's other things I like better. That's it really.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
And did you it seems like you've added so much to your skill level, and I think I saw recently that you did a cake with very fine piping.
A henna one.
Henna one.
Yeah.
And you said it was, and then you've made ones for my child as well, which seem like each one that you make, and I think you made one of Jurassic Park dinosaur, right? And so each one of them has a learning curve.
Yeah. Every cake you learn You learn, and also there's lots of things that you don't know that you know when you have to tell somebody, or somebody says, why doesn't it work? And you're like, because you didn't do this. I'm like, oh, I know all that. And also you learn a lot about marketing, about valuing your work, because that's another thing. When you work for somebody, I've always been employed till now. And when you're employed, you don't value because they pay you. But then you realize, I can't really give you this for free because it's my time. Even if people say, well, it's just a cake. Yeah, but it takes me hours to buy the ingredients. You do it if you want to know how much it takes. So you have to value that. And you only learn that when you're self-employed, as you know. You have to value your time. Yeah. And you can't really do it for free.
Yeah. So is it a big jump thinking like a businesswoman?
Yeah, a big jump. But COVID helped because when COVID happened, I started pushing all these really a lot on social media. And then you have to learn how to market stuff, how to deal with customers. So that helped because I had more time because I was here all the time. Well, we were all at home. So, that gave us more time. Even if you had to carry on working, it was faster to do it here than having to go to the office.
Yeah. So you did that at the same time as you were doing your academic.
Oh, yeah. I've always done it at the same time. But during COVID times, because I started Chocolatinos in 2019. And I started, again, I was an academic and I managed. But it wasn't as big, I wouldn't say big, I'm not big, but wasn't as busy because I didn't have time. But during COVID, you realize, because people had money, because they weren't spending, because they were at home, that they ordered online. So it just grew bigger in that sense. But I could do it because I was here. Yeah. So I could just do a lecture, prepare the lecture, then make some chocolates. And also I couldn't go out, socialize. So we had plenty of time. And that for me, I know people had a really hard time, but for me, it was good.
Yes. So you had like cakes over here while you were online on Zoom.
This is the same setup I had. This is exactly the same. Yeah.
This is a large table.
Yeah. This chair I got from uni. When they gave us equipment. So yeah.
And so when did you leave your job in academia?
In last November.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's when you've just had this sole business now, but you had been running it as a kind of side gig before that for many years. 4 or 5 years,
yeah. Wow. So I've constantly, in those 5 years, fantasized about retirement. As I said, not because academia did anything to me, it's just because I like this better. Yeah. So it's like, I have to come back from cycling, for example. This is the first year I come back from cycling.
Yeah.
My holiday, and don't have to go back to
work.
And I'm like, that is amazing.
So this is the first September that you're not going back to teaching.
No.
Exactly. Incredible. So how does that feel?
Oh, can't say. It's fantastic.
And how did you kind of build up the business skills that you were talking about, like the marketing? Like, how'd you learn about that? Because I think a lot of people want to start side businesses. Yeah. To then maybe even shift into, or like you said, near retirement. A lot of people who are listeners are, like me, like in their 50s and are thinking, I don't know that I want to work for somebody else anymore. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, internet. You have plenty of internet podcasts. There's a podcast is about the cake business or something. So they tell you, they have hundreds of chapters, how to market, how to value your job, hints, taxes. So it's all online, really. You can learn. And actually, chocolates, cakes, I did a course, a cake decorating. I did a pastry chef course on Mondays evenings when I was, so after work, me and my daughter used to go to Liverpool College and did a course, a full year of pastry.
Yeah.
But chocolates, I just learned on my own. Once you know what is there, you can do it on your own. So chocolates, I never did a chocolate making course. You just learn it.
How did you learn? Just by trial and error?
Yeah, you just go on the internet and say, how do I make bonbons? Then they tell you. It's not a big thing. I mean, there's a video about everything, really. It's not, there's no mystery, really. And of course, you get better at, you realize some advice is not as good, and some ingredients are not as good, some things are better. Yeah, it's just experience. You get better by doing it.
Yeah. What is the biggest marketing aha moment for you in terms of like what really changed your mindset around the business?
You mean the chocolates?
Yeah, like in terms of chocolatino, like what thing were you like, that was a game changer that I learned and that's changed my mindset on the way that I do business now?
Maybe there was a podcast. It's a cake person, and he talked about valuing your time. I think valuing your time is the key changing moment, because you always like make, when people say it's too expensive, you make it cheaper, and that you should never do that. And that is like a thing that really stuck to me, that you have to value it. You have to say, well, the big now it is, you can't cater for everyone. If I would say the key, if one sentence that changed my view is like, you cannot cater for everyone. It's like a fine dining restaurant. You can't be a fine dining restaurant and a cheap restaurant at the same time. So there will be customers for you.
Yeah.
But if some customers say, well, I can get it cheaper in Tesco, you're welcome to go to Tesco. But I'm not going to do cheaper because I'm not Tesco.
Yes.
That was the main thing that of everything I know. I think that's it. And you have to keep that, because when people ghost you, a lot of people ask, how much is this cake, blah blah blah, and they disappear. It's fine. They're not for you.
And you don't feel, because there's so much rejection in
I used to feel rejected, but not anymore, because I think I'm not for them, because they want a cheap cake, and I know a cake in Tesco could be, I don't know, 10 quid, but I will make the cake they want for, let's say, 100 quid, but I'm spending 8 hours.
Yeah.
I know, and that's not including, you have to include the time planning, buying the ingredients, going to the shops, coming back, baking, waiting for it to cool down, decorate. So it's a lot of hours.
Yeah,
so
I never thought about including the hours that it's like, cooling down and everything like that.
Well,
but
it's hours of your time. Yeah. So if I ask you, how much do you earn an hour? And they say, let's say minimum wage, I don't know, 12, 15 pounds. Well, I would be earning £5 pounds an hour if I went for the price you want. So and I understand people don't understand. They only say, well, it's only a cake. But it takes time, because you say it's only a coffee. You pay like £4 for a coffee.
Yeah.
Well, it's only a coffee, isn't it? It's water and coffee. It takes a lot longer for me to do it. So I'm not. I used to feel rejected, not anymore. Just it's not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me, and I might not be for you.
Yeah, and you have to say it. And when people say, now, of course, you learn strategies. For example, when people say it's too expensive, I can say, what's your budget? And then I say, for that budget, I can do this. I'm not going to lower my price on the original cakes, but for that budget, I can do this.
Yeah.
And then it's up to them.
Yeah.
But the other thing I've learned, you don't devote too much time on that, because you're wasting minutes or, just sending emails that they probably don't reply to, because they basically, I know what people do, because I do it. They fish for, obviously the cheapest option, which is fair enough. But you're wasting time then writing a few options and flavors and all that, and they don't reply.
Yeah. And you want to honor the customers that you already have.
Yeah.
And spending that time that you're doing that. Like, I'm finding that now. I used to like reply to everybody and like almost prioritize them. And then I was like, but I already have paying clients. Exactly. And that's taking my attention from the people who are already paying me.
Yeah.
And that are devoted and, committed. And I need to honor that. And now I even say to people, I need to honor my current clients by giving them attention. And that means that I can't offer you this for free, Yeah. Because even while you're helping them, that's time that you're spending as well.
It's your time, isn't it?
You're giving your expertise of like, well, I don't think that would work, or this flavor would work best with it, or this kind of, I can only do this with a 3D. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there's only so many things
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
do with 3D. Or if it's layers, you're probably giving them advice on the weight.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, I think we did that because you made my grandmother's cake. Oh
Ah,
my goodness.
yeah,
El
yeah,
bizcocho de mi
yeah.
abuela.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah.
With the amaretto or something like this
Yeah.
that it had in it. Oh my goodness. But, you know, I think you gave me advice. You were like, well, this has to be divided into two. It can't be one big cake. And because I did try to make it and it came out raw. It was crudo.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, layers. Yeah, yeah.
The layers.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
like, it's layers. I was like, okay.
Yeah. But that only comes
You have
from
the expertise.
doing it. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's time. Like those figurines, it took 8 hours to make.
Oh, wow. I'm looking at 2 figurines on the table.
And they say, 2 figurines.
Oh, my goodness.
But you have to make them from scratch.
Yes. And they're a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Is that for a wedding? Or?
For an engagement party.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
So they sent me the picture. I've done it. This is a client, so I've done it before.
Yeah.
And she makes.
So you
the
did
cake.
it from the image of them as well.
Well, she sent me a picture of them, but they weren't in the position of him proposing.
Oh.
So she said, "Can you do them in him proposing?" So he's proposing, and she's on a white dress. So she said that to me. Obviously, I'm not a sculptor. So I can't really do them. I would love to learn how to do that, but
Still impressive. Yeah.
But you have to do it from scratch.
Yeah.
And so this is. I do figurines as well. So she makes the cakes, and she puts them on top. So I don't make the cake.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just love that you've created this. And also, I think the other thing is the expertise that you have, but also because you've, spent you've spent over a decade becoming good at your craft.
Yeah.
And your skills. But then also when you talk to me, I know that and probably when you talk to other potential customers, you say like, I'm going to get these raspberries from the local farmer, which I think also speaks to a certain kind of clientele. Do you know what I mean? It's like whatever you're offering, like for me, my clientele, my niche is, mid-career academics.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of people who are straight from their PhDs, right? And because of my expertise and my perspective, and the same thing with you, it's like you probably get people who want things like organic or locally farmed, and you do a lot of like festivals as well.
Yeah, I do lots of fairs. Yeah, that's for chocolates, no cakes. Yeah. But there's a grocer in the village, and I get all the fruits from them. They're fantastic. So, and also once you get to know them, obviously they say, I need strawberries for Saturday, so they'll have them for you. Yeah, and that's great. I love that. Yeah.
So you have like partnerships in
I've
your
got
business.
my little partnerships with. I have a girl that does flowers in Hightown, so if I need flowers for wedding cakes, she'll have them for me. I've got like the person that does the printing of what you need, and you're loyal to them.
Yeah.
So it's I love it.
Yeah,
I love the whole.
And I guess you have a partnership with the woman who's making the cake for the.
Oh no, this is just a customer.
Okay.
So she doesn't do them to sell. She's for the family.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. But I think like, how much do you think also building in partnerships with people who know about being a small business?
Yeah.
Do you think that's because in academia we have our mentors, right? And like maybe people who have made it to professor or whatever, right? And so you try to understand the negotiation and navigation of the systems. Do you feel like that's helped you as well in navigating business systems?
But not really. I don't really have a lot of partnership with anyone other than these few people.
Yeah. So you're more feel in your community.
Yeah. I don't. And even here, I mean, I don't really have a presence or, like in a community, I'd say. Yeah. Well, I've just joined a Formby Ladies business. That was brilliant. They have a Formby Ladies business club, and they meet. I've only gone to one meeting, but it's brilliant because they all have businesses here, and we help each other. So if they need something, obviously, they have accountants and they have people that do for example, someone's going to help me printing labels. Yeah. They have those services that I don't really want to learn how to do all the extra like printing or things like that. So that would be great.
It's so important to
Seem to
know
do.
like
Oh yeah.
where your skills lie and what you want
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah.
spend your time doing, because when you own your own business,
Yeah.
you could spend your time doing all of it,
Yeah.
right? Doing the printing, doing
Yeah.
the...
But then you realize that's another thing I've learned. If you can't pay some things, you have to pay because it's your time. So you say, well, I'm going to print it myself, but then you don't know how to do it. So you spend hours figuring out how to do it. Well, those hours are time. So if you pay somebody to do it, it's probably going to be cheaper. And then use your time to, it's not that I'm making money every minute, but then use your time to just do something you like
Yes.
rather than, hitting your head against the wall with something that somebody would do it in a second because they know how to do it.
Exactly.
And I don't know how to do it, and I'm not interested in how to do it. So if I had to pay for somebody, no, I wouldn't pay though, that's the thing. But I would have like an avatar doing all my social media because I don't like it. I don't like it, but I have to.
I've started doing a quadrant of, and this is something that I talked about with a client earlier today, actually, a quadrant of things that like I love doing and I get into a flow.
Yeah.
I love doing, but there's no flow.
No flow. Yeah. I hate.
and then hate.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if I have to,
Yeah, I'll do them.
I'll do them. And putting all the things
Yeah.
in my business or just in general.
In general, and I totally agree because the things that I now will pay for.
Yeah.
Like if somebody wants a sign, like happy birthday, just to make it myself. I'm like, just pay £5 and it's done for you.
Yeah.
Just don't, and it's nicer.
Yeah.
Just pay because I hate it.
Yeah.
So don't do things unless you have to, obviously.
Yeah. When in the beginning you have to do all of it.
All
because
of it. But then you get better at just discriminate what's really important and, not to waste time.
Yeah.
And even in this podcast, they said if you really become a proper cake decorator, don't waste time making cakes. Get somebody to make the cakes for you.
Oh, wow.
So they just, of course, I'm not anywhere
Yeah.
near that. But if you were like a cake decorating shop, they don't make the cakes. You just
Right.
get them delivered because you're wasting hours just buying ingredients and all that. You just decorate. Yeah, but I'm not like that. I'll make them.
So you were able to take off with your kind of like flexibility that you've built into your business and prioritizing what things are important to you. You've been able to take off most of the summer to go do something else.
Yeah, go cycling. Yeah.
So when did you start prioritizing cycling in addition to...
Oh, well, I've cycled all my life, but I started cycling touring as soon as I could leave the kids. So they were old enough that I could leave them without worrying. That's about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So I always went cycling in the summer holidays of, uni.
Yeah.
And August is usually, cake-wise, is not big month because people go away. So August is perfect to cycle. And I've done it since then, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you didn't lose it while you were doing your PhD or your
Oh, no.
postdoc. You always prioritized some time for getting some cycling in.
Yeah, but I never went. I mean, I started cycling when I was here, like touring. Because before when I lived in London, I cycled to PhD, but that was part of commuting.
Yeah.
But I couldn't leave because, kids were younger. So I always do something every day. That's a priority as well. So I do some form of exercise every day. And that's a priority above anything. So every day I went walking this morning. I would cycle or walk every day always. Unless I had to, I don't know, even if I had a plane, if I can't fit a walk at the airport somewhere, I'll do it. So it's a priority.
Yeah.
But touring, obviously, you need time. You need a month or 2 weeks or depends. But yeah. But that's been like the last 10 years.
And how do you fit that in? Because I hear from a lot of people who are in academia saying, I used to do football, or I used to do yoga, or I used to do cycling or dancing or whatever, and I no longer have time for that because I'm working so much. I've got marking, blah, 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 blah.
Well, one thing is I was never ambitious wanting promotions and things like that. So I just did what I had to do. That was enough money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that means that I wasn't really I could do what I did, and in that I could fit, like I went to the gym at work, and I would start doing things immediately, so you don't procrastinate. So if you have marking, you start marking minute one. So if you do that, you manage. I think a lot of things is because people procrastinate and leave it, last minute. But if you do it every day, I don't think it's a problem, because with the time in work, I remember going to work and I had a list, do this, and then you manage, and then you go home and did your cakes, and I did manage. There was no problem.
Yeah.
I was never like up to here. Obviously, you only take as many cakes as you can, or as many. But I could I cycled to work, you see. So the cycling was in the commuting.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to do it.
Well, yeah, because you could, that's it. So you don't have to come back and do something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how I've always had time to do that. And touring, basically what happened was, after graduation, you did have like a month or so where nothing big was happening, so you could go. Obviously you always get emails, because in the past you had we didn't have holidays, days of holidays. You only, as long as you did what you had to do, you could do whatever.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
Yes,
old times.
I remember that.
But then they changed it, and then now you have holiday days.
Yes. Before it was like, as long as you're getting your grants and your papers, we don't care when you work.
Yeah.
Which actually I think meant more people were working through their holidays, because
I think you work more.
You weren't really tracking.
Yeah, you work. I think people work more, because as soon as they said, I remember they said, you get days, and I'm like, I'm not doing anything on those days. Whether in the past I was in mitigating circumstances, so I used to call parents on Sundays. I didn't care, because it had to be done anyway. But now I was like, I'm not doing it, which I think it was in a way detrimental to me. I don't know if management thought it was an advantage to do that. I haven't got a clue if that works or not. When you force people, I think people just become like instinctively rejected. But I don't know. I don't know anything about management. But for me, it was like, oh, well. Now,
well, academics don't like to be told what to do and when to do.
Exactly. And if we did it, we did it for years. I did it for years. And this came into action about, I don't know, before COVID. I don't know when. But then they said you had, 30 days or how many days. Well, you made sure you took them.
Yeah.
Whether in the past, maybe I didn't even take them.
Yeah.
Because and also when I was cycling, I remember answering to emails and stuff like that, because you said, well, I have to do it anyway when I come back.
Yeah. All the emails pile up, so you're just like, well,
may as well do them.
Yeah.
But then it was just different. But
yeah. So do you feel like you were quiet quitting in a way, or just doing the bare minimum, or just doing what you needed to do in order to do the job?
Yeah.
And then the rest of the time is mine.
Yeah. My motto is, you do what you have to do. No one gets into trouble because you haven't done what you had to do. I would never do, don't do anything and then somebody else has to do it. So I've always done that. But I didn't have any, I had enough to live. So I don't want more money being promoted, because obviously when you get promoted, you get a lot more responsibility. So you pay a price for it. And I'm happy where I am. So I have basically no ambitions, which is good. It worked for me. So I didn't do, well, you can call it the bare minimum. I did what I had to do, I think. And no one had to do my work. So I hope nobody thought, oh, that lazy woman, not doing what she had to do. But that was it, really.
I didn't hear that. But
that was like, what I did.
But I think it also has to do with like what kind of lifestyle you want to lead. Do you know what I mean? Like when I moved to the UK, I decided I'm not going to buy a car, because I'd been driving all in LA and New York and all that. And I was like, when I move to the UK, I don't want to have to worry about a car. Yeah. It's going to take up money. It's going to, do you know what I mean? And I just said, I'm privileged enough to have legs that work and health. And so I thought, I'm just going to live close to where I work. Yeah. Close enough that I can cycle. I don't have to live super close, but I want to cycle there. And I think there's something about I didn't want to travel a lot, you know, or if
Yeah.
I did, it's not going to cost a lot of money. I'm happy going economy. But I think it's like I don't hear a lot of people talking about what kind of life do you want to lead. It's always like, well, what's your ambition? You have to go for the next thing. But it's like, what does that next thing get you?
Well, exactly. Totally agree. I never think of my life in terms of where I want to be. For me, the most important thing is time. So I'll do anything with my money to buy time, and that's why I retired, because I'm university paid me to work, and now I lost the salary, and I see like I paid university not to work. You see how I see it? I don't see like I lost the salary. Of course I did,
Yeah.
but this is the price of my time.
That's amazing.
It's the price of my time. I mean, I lost the salary. Well, that's the price of 8 hours a day, isn't it? That's what they cost.
Yes.
And you pay for it, and you lost your salary. But I have enough to live with what I have. And I always, if I had more money, I would just save it. Because I don't buy expensive stuff. I'm okay.
Yeah.
So why would I? Because if I wait to retirement, that's like 9 more years or 8 more years. And as you said, they changed the pension scheme. That was another reason why I retired early, because in the past, I remember you had the pension calculator, and you earned for every year I did get around £1,000 per year extra. So if you work 9 years, you get like £9,000 extra when you finish. But when they changed the scheme, I think for me it was 6,000 more, but when it's taxed, it gets to 4,000. 4,000 divided by 12 months is like £360 or something like that, which that's like, I do one fair every weekend, and that will pay that. So I'm talking 9 years of my life for £360 a month. It's no way, you see, I'm gonna sacrifice my life for that.
Wow.
That's how I saw it. It's part of my constant fantasy about retirement. But when you do that calculation, you say, well, this is what you're gonna get. No way. Of course I lost the salary. That's the main loss. It's hundreds of thousands, obviously, probably on salary. But I don't need it.
Yeah.
So why would you want to have it if you don't need it? Because at the end of the day, what you need is time, not money. So I always think you have to use money to buy time.
Yeah.
Never use time to get money. Never, ever. That's always been a motto for me. You have to have enough money to live, obviously. But my kids are independent now, and I don't need the money.
Yeah. I love
And luckily,
everything
we
that-
live here in this country where you have health.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
they
a
complain,
privilege.
but if you have something bad, they'll see you
Yeah.
quickly.
That was one reason
Because
why I
obviously,
stayed here.
yeah, because if you had the health problem, then it's a completely different story, because you need to have a lot of money
Yeah.
in case you get a health.
Yeah. In a lot of other countries.
Oh, lots of other countries.
Yeah.
yeah.
At least in the US where I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah.
As
But
soon
here-
as I left and went to Europe, I was like, okay, I don't really want to go back to that system.
Yeah, or you pay a huge amount in insurance. But here, when you hear what other people pay in other countries, we are really lucky. We don't pay taxes for a house, for example. In America, they do, don't they?
I have
For a
not
property.
looked into that.
Yeah. If you
My
have
parents
property,
didn't own property, so I'm
if you
I'm
have
the
a
first-
property there, you pay taxes on the property. Here, you don't.
Right.
You
Yeah.
pay council tax, but you don't
That's
pay.
true,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So if you have 2 million property, this is not 2 million property, but if you had one, you pay, I don't know what's the percentage, but a big amount forever.
Yeah.
So you're always paying money.
Yes. Exactly. No, I think this is a good country.
It's a great country. Could never complain about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'll definitely not be moving back to the US.
Yeah.
At least. It might be,
Yeah.
Colombia, maybe not.
Yeah. But yeah, going to other countries is...
Yeah.
When you talk to people, because I cycle, so I stay with people, that live there, and you talk about everything. And when you talk about their expenses, or the way the system works, you realize we are very lucky.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky.
Absolutely.
So,
And that's why I had because I gave birth in Sweden while I was there for my
Oh,
postdoc.
yeah.
I was like, I'm having a baby.
In Sweden, yeah. And it was wonderful.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I paid for the food at the hospital.
And that was
That was it.
Yeah.
I probably paid like £5 for the food.
And that was it.
That's it. Nothing
Imagine
else.
all the
It's
control.
incredible.
Yeah.
And I stayed 3 days there as well. So,
Yeah.
and not, you don't pay. I mean, obviously my taxes,
Well, yeah, you pay
but
with tax.
they weren't much higher than UK.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Definitely higher taxes in the US, but like you said, there's other things you're paying while you're in the US, insurance.
Yeah,
or
of course.
da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely agree with you. So what's next for you? I mean, what do you see your next? You talked about like the next like 9 years. What it would
The same. I'm totally happy. Nothing. I just want to be healthy and cycle. I have the cycling festival, where I go every year. So
I'm doing that next year.
Orleans. It's in Orleans. Cakes, chocolates. Time goes really fast because I have fairs every weekend.
Yeah.
So I just keep doing that, and I'm totally happy with that. I won't change anything.
Yeah.
I don't have any plan to change anything.
Yeah.
I like my holidays when I get them. I like to be here.
Yes.
I like my friends. I love my life.
Yeah.
So I don't want to change anything. I'm happy. I'm very content. I don't have any ambitions.
Yeah.
I think that's the secret. What's the secret? No expectations.
No expectations.
At all. I have no expectations from people, from anyone. And that's a blessing.
Amazing.
So I think I was born without it.
I think we should end there. That's incredible. Thank you so much, Sonia. I knew this was going to be like such a revelation for a lot of people, just in terms of your philosophy of life. I think people need to hear it. So
I think lots of people would agree. People want, if you don't be, well, on the other hand, obviously, if all people were like me, we would still be in Stone Age conditions. They're like, we're fine. Yeah. No ambition.
It's like Eddie Izzard said about people in Italy, ciao, ciao. They just go ciao on their bike.
Yeah, no ambition, nothing. Happy.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, it was lovely.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody.
And also the acronyms. This looks like that thing called that series they did, Line of Duty, where they say there's an
there's an acronym for everything.
Every day, so you have all these.
HTA, HSE,
HSC, LCR, LHP, CRN, CCG, UKVI, UQ, and UB. What? No.
That is academia in a nutshell.
Maybe it is. But
with all the acronyms, I remember when I first started in academia, I had to get a manual, like a little,
like Line of Duty.
Yeah, with all the acronyms in them.
Meant.
Yeah, what they meant.
But it's a shame because it likes all the jobs. What you there to teach, and I love teaching. I'd love to. I even did the guest lectures and everything. I don't mind preparing the guest lecture, giving them. That's fine. I love it. But it's lost. It's like nurses, they lost in paperwork. All the jobs. You don't do what you like to do, what you're supposed to be doing. Lots of jobs are like that. So I don't mind teaching. I love it.